Today I want to talk to you about the essentials for buying a laser. If you're watching this video, you obviously have an interest in lasers, and you want to be able to compare laser companies and see which one you would want to buy, right? In order to do that, you need to know the 10 essentials for buying a laser, right? So here they are. I have them listed for you today. Let me start and give you the details for each one. Now, we have very detailed videos that explain each one of these, again, in deep detail. So if you want to watch and have all of the science that shows how each one of these, and gives you, again, all the research that shows how these are effective and how they work for you, and why you want to know which one it is, then you want to watch some of those videos. So you can go down below and hit the follow button, and that will take you to see more of these videos. You can go to bluehonest.com and watch any of the videos and click on any of the videos there. If you like this video or any of those, please help us out by clicking that like button. Okay. So the first dynamic and essential that we're going to talk about today is whether you have a true laser or an LED or light therapy. Make no mistake about it, there is no comparison, and LEDs and light therapy are not lasers. Now, what differentiates them is very simple. It's called coherent and non-coherent light. In other words, LEDs and light therapy are non-coherent and lasers are coherent. Non-coherent basically means it's scattered light. So you cannot do much with that. In other words, you cannot incorporate frequencies, you cannot incorporate different wavelengths. All of that is not possible because it is scattered light. The other problem with that is that scattered light does not allow for any penetration. In other words, it can only do surface and barely that as well. So that's what LEDs and so don't mistake that. And again, if you just look at price, you can see that LEDs and light therapies are just basically cheap apparatus. They cannot do anything that a laser can do. Now, lasers are coherent light, so they have the capacity to be dialed in. You can use frequencies, you can use different wavelengths, you can use which is called the nanometers, different power. All of that is incorporated in a laser, which basically means lasers are going to get results, and they're very, very effective, where LEDs and light therapy, different animal. The second essential is FDA. Now, I'm not a big fan of the FDA, and I'm certainly not a big fan of the CDC, but what FDA cleared does for you is assures two things. Number one, it assures that what you're buying is actually in the laser. In other words, if it says it has certain nanometers, they're in it. If it says it has certain power, it's in it. So that's the first thing you get out of having something FDA cleared. The second thing is safety. So when everything is done correctly, they approve it so that it is perfectly safe. That's actually the objective of the FDA. So again, although I'm not a big fan, having an FDA cleared laser is very important for safety and to make sure that you're getting exactly what you paid for. That's it. Third dynamic is the most important dynamic of buying a laser, and that is the wavelength, which is AKA nanometers. The wavelengths, we absorb all of the different wavelengths from the sun, right? We just don't take one or two or three. We absorb all. And plants absorb different ones, animals different ones. Every living thing on the planet absorbs light. 99.9% of everything on planet Earth needs light. So there's all these different wavelengths of light that serve for different things. In the human body, we use a lot of different ones, not just one or two. So if you want the best laser possible, you want to incorporate as many wavelengths as you can. So for example, for years and years and years, and I'm guilty of this, for years, we've been using simply two wavelengths, which is called a 635 wavelength, which is red. And you have an 808 wavelength, which is infrared. And as the infrared allows for mostly for penetration, and the 635 is pretty known as helping with pain and inflammation. So the two of those together are really good for pain and inflammation, but it stops there. And in today's world, we're kind of getting sick of having people diagnose and treating symptoms. We would like to finally have something that can get to the root cause. If you have a laser that incorporates all of the other wavelengths, violet is low 400s, low 400s. Blue is high 400s. Green is the 500s. Reds is in the low 635s, for example. You also have bright red, which is 670, a very important wavelength. And then you have infrared, and the low 800s is the most researched and where what most laser companies use. A great wavelength, and that allows for penetration and again for pain and inflammation. So if you have all of these together, that's what you want out of your laser. We have detailed videos that show the importance and research about this. I strongly suggest that you look at those videos. Please, you can hit the follow button below, or you can simply go on bluehonest.com. That's the actual video that you want to watch. Please take the time to look at that one. Next is the number of diodes. It's very simple. diodes are coherent lights, so they work in this direction. They don't scatter. So if you want to cover a larger surface, you have to have a larger amount of diodes, right? So I'm going to show you very simple. This is the Pro VX, and you can see we've got approximately 2-inch diameter of what this covers. It has 15 diodes in it. So the coverage here is so much bigger and so much broader than simply a laser that only has 1 or 2 diodes in it. 1 or 2 diodes are going to cover a very small area. You're going to have to use it multiple times to try to get the results that you would get by using this just once. So again, number of diodes is very important. After that are your frequencies. This is very interesting because every living thing on planet Earth oscillates at a different frequency. In fact, planet Earth oscillates at a frequency. It happens there. So there's universal frequencies. There's frequencies for every organ, for every gland, for every animal, for every plant, and they're all different. So in order to dial in a laser, if you want to dial in a laser, you have to have these frequencies. Very well researched fact is that if you have pulse frequencies, so there are 2 different waves when you buy a laser. There's what we call continuous wave and pulsed wave. Pulse wave means there's frequencies. Continuous wave means there's none. It's just a straight diode, zero frequencies. All right. So if you have the frequencies, the universal frequency is 528. I'm going to give you a couple just for fun, right? 528. Schumann resonance is 7.8. 8.3 to be exact. If you want to do something for your liver, for example, that's a frequency of 55. But if you want to get rid of a bacteria or a virus, they're in the high thousands. So you need to know these things. Lasers are good for elimination, and they're really great for regeneration. So these lasers can be dialed in if you have the frequencies, and frequencies are known to be anywhere from, if you use the frequencies, lasers are anywhere from 10 to 1,000 times more effective by using pulse frequencies. The Pro VX laser is the only laser that incorporates over 700 frequencies. There's only one other company that actually incorporates a few frequencies in their laser, and another company that allows you to put frequencies in, but you have to know what they are. So if you want the best laser possible, my strong opinion, the Pro VX, which is completely pre-programmed with over 700 different frequencies, is where to go. If you want 4 or 5 or 6 and want to plug in your own frequencies, there's another company that allows you to do that. The Pro VX already has those frequencies in it, plus another 700 more, where in another company. So pulse frequency is very important, well researched to know that if you have pulse frequencies, you're going to be anywhere from 10 to 1,000 times more effective, meaning your results are going to be so much better. Next is power. Power is interesting because some people make different claims as far as power is concerned. There's a laser company that says you don't need power, and they say that the wavelength is what allows for penetration. That's fine. And there's much more research that shows that if you have 1,000 milliwatts of infrared, that is what allows for the penetration. So if you want the best, I'm not going to particularly choose which one is right. I have my research that shows that the 1,000 milliwatts of power is what you would really want, but I'm not going to combat another company if they have their research and they say that the wavelength is what it is, then I'm okay with that as well. So wouldn't it be great if you had a laser that had both? I would prefer to do that. So there's the Pro VX incorporates the wavelengths that are the lower wavelengths that they say work for penetration, and it also has 1,000 milliwatts of infrared in the 808 spectrum, and that will allow further penetration. So that's there you are as far as power is concerned. You need 1,000 milliwatts of infrared, and then as far as all of the visible light is concerned, the visible light cannot go above 12 milliwatts of power. Each one. Cumulative, they're okay. You can go high. So that's another reason to want more diodes, more laser diodes. But you cannot go anything from 13 milliwatts to about 25 will create heat and actually a first degree burn. 25 to 35, second degree burn, 35 and above, a third degree burn. So you have to be very careful with visible light not to go above 12 milliwatts. So the ideal amount of power for all visible light is 10 milliwatts of power. There are companies, of course, then you don't want a diode that only has 1 or 2 or even up to 5. You would have to use that laser for a much longer period of time because it just doesn't have the power for the penetration and for the use. So you would want your visible light, which is between 400 and 670, between 780 up to 780 milliwatts nanometers. Those are the ones you want for only 10 milliwatts of power. The infrared, 780 above, you want 1,000 milliwatts of power. So that's the amount of power that you want. The Pro VX, for example, has exactly that. All of the visible lights are 10 milliwatts per power of milliwatts of power, and the infrared is 1,000 milliwatts. All right. Next is the Arndt-Schulz law. From what I know, there is all laser companies do not abide by this, which is so vitally important. And here's what the Arndt-Schulz law states. The Arndt-Schulz law is strictly stated just for lasers and lasers only. What it says basically is they work on a bell curve. Very simple. So when you start to use them, they work great. They have a bell curve where they work great, they still work great. But if you use them too long, you'll actually lose the benefit of what you're trying to do. So you never want to use the laser too long a period of time, and that takes that takes a lot of research. You have to know the power, which is measured in joules and joules centimeters squared. Is the way you can figure that out is by the amount of power, which is measured in watts, okay, so in our case in milliwatts, and you would have to go multiply that by seconds, and then you have to incorporate the pulse frequencies by incorporating that, because that allows for the certain amount of time because it's pulsed. It's not a continuous wave. So if you put all of that together, you can actually come up with the exact amount of time that is necessary. Now, lasers will never hurt you. So if you use them too long, that's all fine and dandy, but why would you want to do that? Because if you do it too long, you're going to lose the benefit of what you're trying to gain. So it's vitally important that the laser that you're interested in buying is timed, pre-timed. It has to be, because they're the only, you cannot do the research for every time you're going to use a laser and research and know whether you need to use it for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, or whether you need to use it for 5 minutes. You can't do that for every time you want to use a laser. So to find a laser that is completely pre-programmed is vitally important, because the timing and the Arndt-Schulz law, the timing is very important. You want to get the maximum results. You need to have the timing down pat. Next is placement. Where do you put the laser? I'll give you a very simple example, and you have acute pain. My shoulder hurts. You put it on your shoulder. You put it around your shoulder, and your pain is going to work on your pain and inflammation. But what if you have systemic pain? Well, both shoulders hurt, both knees hurt, both hips hurt, my neck hurts, my back hurts, I hurt all over. So what? That's called systemic pain. So you can't use a laser in 20 different locations. You'd be there all day using a laser. And on top of that, it's not the particular joint that is a problem. Systemic pain means that there's an underlying problem that is affecting multiple joints, multiple areas. So you need to know where to put the laser. So placement, knowing where to put the laser, again, timing, how long you need to keep it there, all of these things are important. You need to have that in your laser, and you need to have your lasers, or the laser company or manufacturer, giving you that information so that you know exactly where to be able to put the laser to get your best results. All right. Next, these two are together. Humans, animals, plants. You need to have a laser that does all of this, right? I want a laser that does myself, and I want a laser that does my dog, and my neighbor wants the laser that works on her horse. So you want a laser that incorporates a lot of different. Lasers are not cheap, all right? But there's a value there, and you need to be able to get something that can incorporate everything that you want in life. Why not? Why not? If you're going to have a laser, why not have it that you have humans, animals, plants, the food, fruits, vegetables. When you're eating these things, you get them in your body, you can actually use different frequencies to enhance them to get more out of your vitamins and your minerals. Fascinating, right? So make sure, again, just an added plus to finding the right laser. And last is value. Very simple. There's a value in lasers. The Pro VX, which is our laser, has an incredible value. It is by no stretch the most expensive laser out there. Very reasonably priced. And again, don't misinterpret that with an LED or a light therapy. That can you buy one for $100 on the internet. All right. So thank you for watching. This is the Blue Honest Pro VX laser. This laser incorporates everything here. All right, and even more. If you want more details about this, or if you just want more details on any of that, so you can go look and see which laser you'd like to buy, excuse me, then go to thebluehonest.com. You can go on there and look at all the different videos we have. If you like this video, again, please click the like button. If you want to follow along with more of the other videos, hit the follow button. If you want to talk with any of us, customer service at Blue Honest, go on there. You can set up a time to either a Google Meet or a phone call. And if you just want to go on and purchase and want more information, go to bluehonest.com. Thank you for watching.